Clifford, so logistics and logistical costs are becoming more and more important for South African companies, given all the global problems in shipping and our own domestic problems. So if we just unpack that a bit, maybe we start with the international side. Obviously, COVID, logistical constraints, we'd hope those would be easing up, but it seems to be just as bad at this stage.
And I think there's just things that are affecting it more and more. So the current lockdown, for example, in Shanghai, that meaning people being locked down, meaning nobody's producing goods. So besides nobody's shipping out goods are not being manufactured. So that puts delay on everything. At the present moment, they're I think on day 14, they're slightly easing the lockdown, but that's going to have a big impact on us. Remember, we'll feel that in the next 2-3 months of products not being available to ship. So it puts a lot of pressure. So I think besides COVID, most definitely all the little events that happen along the way, I call it the domino effect. As something falls in one place, it causes the other place to suffer.
So what sort of shipping delays are we looking to, let's say, from China to South Africa and then from SA back to China or across to Europe?
Yeah, so I think the delays are I think, worldwide. If you're shipping out of, and I'll start with South Africa, if you're shipping out of South Africa, some of the big problems we face is getting space on a vessel. So that's a challenge. In South Africa, we have a lot more smaller vessels that call South Africa. So space is the first problem. Second is equipment. And as you can see, worldwide, because people are taking longer to unpack a container or it's taking longer to get to a destination, they're starting to run out of containers. So from a capacity point of view, so both are challenging, the having space and having the equipment. And that happens throughout the world. So, before you could work in a very just-in-time system, now it's very difficult to go to a just-in-time system. Now you've got to work on the system of, you've got to try get it onto a vessel. And a simple case, somebody exporting out of South Africa to Australia, they planned a launch in Australia close to the Easter weekend. Their goods are still sitting in a warehouse in South Africa because of equipment and capacity. The dates just get moved out. Now the same happens out of Europe. At the moment in Italy, there are sailings, so it's not like there's not sailings. But then they're going to Sao Paulo on the top of Africa, and then they're getting transshipped. There you're looking at least, so where it would have been, let's say, let's call it a month, it takes it to 2 months. So from a planning perspective, so South Africans that have commitments, it's huge. It has a huge impact, not just on their bottom line, because every time they make an amendment, to a letter of credit, for example, there's a cost. Every time the commitment they make to a client, we're going to have the goods at your door at a particular time, and they're not delivering, that means that people are not selling. So yeah, huge impact, I think, worldwide. So COVID created, let's say, the mess that we're in. And I think everything else that happens, including the local stuff that's been happening, exactly the same, just creates another knock-on effect.
So we're actually seeing that at the RMB side as well. Clients obviously hedging their currency needs, but the problem of knowing when the goods are going to arrive, so when you have to pay them, we do have some solutions there. But you've got some solutions yourselves. How do clients handle this situation if you just don't know the dates?
Yeah, I think the most important, and here is the problem, is that having a firm committed booking doesn't guarantee that it's going to sail, truthfully. Also at the same time, from a shipping perspective, remember that a ship doesn't just sail from China, for example, to South Africa. They call it transshipment, meaning that it will go to a hub, like I mentioned Sao Paulo as an example. It goes to their hub. It's a bigger feeder vessel. They'll put it on the ground, then it will go on to a smaller ship that is calling South Africa. So from a planning perspective, the advice to the client is you cannot work in a just-in-time anymore. You have to plan in addition. So you need to be looking at when you've got that sailing date and look at the next 2 sailing dates, and that's where you can start to make commitment. just to ease the pressure on yourself. I think also importantly, from a solution point of view, visibility is the most important. So knowing what's happening, so not being left in the dark or expecting something to arrive in the country, and then when you look at it, it hasn't, because it's been either bumped off, as they call it, or it's in its transshipment. They've put it onto a vessel that's calling 5 other countries before it comes to South Africa.
So we've obviously got problems in SA as well. So first question for you would be, is the SA domestic situation worse than the global problems? Or how do we fit in with that?
So, and also depends on your view and your viewpoint. So obviously we have challenges. So we have challenges inside our ports, we know that, but they're pretty efficient in the port. The problem is that getting into the port is a big challenge. And if you speak to the transporters, there's a new booking system, they're battling. So what they're trying to do is trying to improve the turnaround time of people going in and out. So the answer to the question is, yes, we're probably worse than a lot of the other countries in the world, and especially the big ports. I mean, in some cases you have a container that comes in and out off a ship, on the ground, onto a truck, out within 30 to 40 minutes. In South Africa, remember that you can only collect your container once it's on the ground, and then you got 3 days to clear it. So people plan with those 3 days, which causes more and more congestion. So they are working on a planning system. Are we worse than the rest of the world? Probably at the present moment, but I think collectively we're trying to make it better.
And Clifford, an update on the port situation in South Africa, particularly around Durban with the significant rains in the past few weeks?
So I think much like we chatted about COVID being in lockdown in Shanghai, I think there's going to be quite a backlog, and people are saying estimate what it's going to be. It's very difficult to say. So I think in terms of the result of the floods, it's caused quite a delay. So from the port's point of view, I think they'll start easing into normal operations as soon as infrastructure around it allows. So that could take at least 2 weeks. I think from that effect, it is a little bit of domino effect. It is going to put pressure on the vessels calling into South Africa and going out specifically from Durban side. Definitely, people need to plan for a delay because of the floods.